Well, it was obviously a weird situation. The thing was over, and the fighters were all getting on the buses and leaving the arena and going back to the hotel. And these guys had people on the inside who opened doors for them, who were there covering the event for his company, and came and attacked the buses. And you know, when you see that dolly go through the window. Yeah. Mike Chiesa, one of the fighters, is sitting right there. So the glass, and I believe the dolly hit him, you know, and he was bleeding. And then one of the other guys, Ray Borg, glass went in his eyes and actually cut his eyeballs. Yeah. And so he was off the card. So just right there, that's 4 people. And then Artem was with Conor in doing this. And, you know, Conor turned himself in last night to police. They had a warrant for his arrest, or were working on a warrant for his arrest. I don't know if what actually ended up happening, but they did ground his plane. They grabbed his passport. They did. So that he couldn't, you know, tagged his passport or out, however it is they do it. And, you know, it was either wait for the police to catch him or him to turn himself in.
Dana, now when we first saw the report, as sports fans, initially, not alarming, but is this staged? Is this real? Now, much respect to you, Dana. Now, you've been involved in a lot of different things from a promotional standpoint and very, very successful at it. We've never seen anything like this.
Right.
Where does this sit with you last night?
This is the fight business, and leading up the week of a fight, there's tension and animosity. Guys are cutting weight. They're angry. You know, these type of things happen. Guys will say things, push, shove, grab each other. These things have happened. People have slapped each other. People have done this. We can deal with all that stuff. When you bring in, you know, 20 hoodlums, they flew in from Ireland to basically do this at our event. It's, like I said, there's nothing like this that has ever happened.
Conor as well flew in from Ireland.
He flew them in. He's the one.
Flew them all in on a private jet. They all flew in to do this.
So is this? Do you have any idea? Is this out of anger about the scuffle at the hotel? Is this because it's not about being stripped of his belt?
No. It has nothing to do with him being stripped. This was...
So what, to tell people...
Artem Labov, who is on the undercard, is a very, very close friend of Conor McGregor. And he got into an altercation with Khabib Nurmagomedov and his team. So when Conor found out about it, he loaded up a plane full of guys from Ireland, flew over here, and, you know, coordinated this attack on the buses. And obviously, there's multiple problems with doing something like this. But the biggest problem, in my opinion, both of these buses are full of a ton of fighters and they're cornermen. And they're just throwing things into the windows with not caring who they hit. They hit Mike Chiesa. Mike Chiesa has nothing to do with this. You know what I mean? Rose Namajunas was right there. She has nothing to do with this. And many of the other fighters and cornermen have nothing to do with this situation. And they didn't care. They attacked them all.
Have you spoken to Conor? Do you plan to speak to Conor? Have you spoken to his people? Where are you with that?
Conor and I talked through text yesterday. Probably obviously the worst conversation we've ever had. But yeah, we talked yesterday before he turned himself in.
Worst conversation?
Yeah, it was
What do you
bad.
mean, that he didn't understand what had happened?
No, I don't believe he did.
Or the severity
it's not that I don't think he understood what happened. It's just he justified it. It was justified to him that, you know, listen, I'm sorry about Mike and I'm sorry about Rose and whoever else might have whatever, but this had to be done.
So when you say this, his issue was with Khabib, right?
Right.
He is in one of the only industries in the world where if you have an issue with someone, you not only are you allowed to punch them in the face repeatedly, you can make millions of dollars to punch them in the face repeatedly. Like, so I'm not asking you to get in his head, but like, why was there the inability, in your opinion, to just say, okay, now I have real animosity towards a guy, and by the way, you didn't want to strip him of his belt. You'd rather him be fighting anyway.
Yes.
Let's just make, I can maybe show up, I can be in the crowd, I can get the buzz started, and then set up a fight. Like, why not that route, the logical route?
Yeah, that you're asking the same questions that I'm asking, and that's what I said yesterday. If you have a problem with somebody in this business, we can handle it. You can literally fight them and do whatever within the rules of fighting. You can do that, and that's absolutely what should have been done. You're talking about one of the biggest superstars globally in all of sports, and it doesn't get any worse than this.
Does he have a future with you?
I honestly, sitting here right now, people keep asking me, "You're going to fire him? You're going to fire him?" This is way bigger than "Are you going to fire a guy?" This is criminal. This is other fighters. Some of our staff, one of our security
broke
guys,
his knuckles?
Broken knuckle, was punched repeatedly by guys. These type of. We have the whole footage. We have the footage from the cameras that were shooting UFC embedded, cameras from inside and outside, and the arenas. So we literally have everything.
Dana, I want to go back to something you said. You're seemingly the only person that's spoken to Conor since this has happened. You said he justified it. Did he explain anything to you that you didn't know before or that surprised you at all as to why he did this or why he doesn't think what he did was so awful?
Nothing.
Really?
Nothing. Obviously, we didn't have a good conversation yesterday, and it wasn't really about the situation. He felt that my interview on ESPN yesterday and
MMA Junkie, you did something with that.
Yeah, and the Las Vegas Review-Journal were all there after this thing, and he wasn't happy with my interview and some of the things that I said, and so we got into it more about that than him really. They feel like these guys attacked his friend, and this needed to be done.
When you go ahead, Cece.
Obviously, the message, you weren't able to get that to Conor McGregor. But Nick, myself, Jenna, we're fans of UFC. We're a fan of Dana White. What kind of message do you have to us and other people here in the New York tri-state area? You have a big event tomorrow night.
Yeah.
What's the message to us as consumers of your product? Yeah,
listen, unfortunately, these things happen in all sports. I mean, there's been huge fights that have spilled out into the crowd in NBA and, soccer, and the list goes on and on. And they obviously caught us at a moment when, first of all, everybody's gone. The fighters are the last to leave. Everybody's getting on the bus. And if you watch the video, the long video, which I'm sure will be out soon, the security staff that we did have there stopped them from throwing bike racks, garbage cans. The list goes on and on. The dolly and a chair, I think, hit the bus. The dolly went through the window. But the limited security staff that was there did a fantastic job. And, 15 years, almost 20 years of me doing this and 25 years of the UFC, nothing like this has ever happened.
Right.
Not in the crowd, not anywhere.
What do you think? And listen, I promise you, we're going to talk about the actual event that's happening, but because I know that's the original reason you came here. It's a huge event tomorrow, even though some of the fights now aren't going to be able to go on.
That you were scheduled to come,
regardless of this, and it's great of you to come anyway. But was the objective to get Khabib off the bus? And if that happens,
no. Him for Conor?
For Conor, I know.
I think the objective was to get to Khabib. Our objective was to keep everybody on the bus and diffuse this thing. And like I said, our limited security staff that was there, 3 or 4 guys,
hell of a job by them. I mean, because it's not just, it's Conor and I would assume a lot of other trained professional fighters.
Right, exactly. But you're talking about trained professional fighters that are in a completely different state of mind. These guys are cutting weight. The weigh-ins are today. So these guys are right in the middle of weight cut. They're tired. They have to get back and keep working on cutting the weight. Completely different state of mind, this group of fighters that were on that bus.
I just want to follow up one thing you said. You said Conor wasn't happy with something. It was some of the things you said in the interview. I would imagine one of those is you're like, listen, I don't know if he was on drugs. I don't know.
100%. Yeah, that was a big one.
That's what he was upset about.
Yeah. But when you see the guy run in and do what he did, what do you want me to think? What do you want me to think? This is completely irrational behavior. You're a professional athlete. You make millions of dollars a year, and you're one of the biggest superstars on planet Earth.
Millions because of you, though.
Yeah,
did he forget that?
Millions because of both of us. He is a very talented guy. I have done my job, obviously. He has done his.
Do we know Conor McGregor without Dana White? No. Okay? Let's stop that mess.
Thank you. All right.
Dana, what options do you have right now? What are the choices and decisions you have to make over the course of the next 24, 48 hours
Obviously,
with regards to this?
We're focused right now on the event,
okay.
security, and all these things as far as the event goes right now. Get this event behind me. Obviously, my whole crew is out here now from Vegas, lawyers and everybody else. We were on conference calls all night last night, and once this thing's over, we get back to Vegas and figure out what's next.
I wonder if he realizes how much trouble he's in. Trouble's seemingly a mundane word, but how severe this is.
I agree with you. I agree. Yesterday, I don't think he did. Today, I think he's in jail right now. He might. And, not just the legal stuff that's going on, criminal stuff that he's being charged with.
The civil part of it.
The civil lawsuits that are coming next. Yeah.
I mean, for anyone and everyone. Listen, I'm not going to pretend to be a lawyer on television, but I would imagine the UFC has a claim. Barclays might have a claim. Half dozen fighters. Everyone on the card, even people not injured.
Security.
Security. There's a lot of people. And by the way, sometimes you sue a guy that you know has no money. Sometimes you sue a guy that you know has a ton of money.
Right.
And those results are different. All right. So listen, what's left of the lineup? And then we can talk about the main event. Like you mentioned.
The main event is still intact. The co-main event is still intact, and most of the other fights the big fight, it bummed us out losing Chiesa versus Pettis. It was a good fight. We'll make it up to those guys and put them on a card here soon. But the main event, co-main event, and many of the other fights that people want to see are still on.
So what should people, if people don't know Khabib, if they don't know Max Holloway, what should they be looking for?
Well, Max Holloway is the 145-pound champion. He hasn't lost in 5 years. The guy has the most finishes in the 145-pound division history up against Khabib, who is undefeated, 25-0, who many people feel is the best fighter in the world right now. And Max Holloway is a stud, stepped up and took this fight on 6 days' notice, because this started on Sunday for us, this nutty week that we're having. Our guy Tony Ferguson got hurt, was doing PR and tripped over one of the wires and tore his LCL off the bone doing PR. So people who think PR isn't dangerous, Tony
you
thought
the
proved
UFC
that
was
wrong.
dangerous. Public relations is the worst.
Tell me about the co-main event.
What's that?
Tell us about
the co-main event is Rose Namajunas versus Joanna Jędrzejczyk. Jędrzejczyk's only loss is to Namajunas, and the first fight was incredible. It was at Madison Square Garden. This is the rematch. Joanna was on her way to break Ronda Rousey's streak for title defenses, and Rose came and ruined that for her.
Is Rose doing okay? She walked back to the hotel, right? She wasn't physically injured, right? But she was shaken by everything.
Apparently the bus was backing up, and when this thing came through, she was right there. And I don't know. I guess glass just exploded into the van, and all of it went right by her face. And again, these fighters are cutting weight. They're in a real different state of mind. Yeah, she was shaken up. She was upset. She left and walked back to the hotel when everybody told her not to, and I went and sat with her, and I think she's good.
Dana, you've got a lot on your plate. We really appreciate the time today, both with the event coming up, plus everything the fallout from everything you're going to have to deal with. But you've been wonderful talking to us, and you helped explain a lot, so we thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Good luck with everything. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from First Things First, or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.